The economy is shifting as we speak, and with this shift, there is a valid concern, and I think a real possibility, that there will be a decrease in demand for Turo fleets and Turo owners across the entire country. Now, I don't think that this is something to be overly concerned about, but I absolutely think that it's something to be aware of, and I think that it's something that you should be keeping an eye on to ensure that you're taking the proper steps and protocol to ensure that your car is getting rented out, that you're making as much money as possible on the Turo platform, and that you're not losing out on guests and bookings that some of your other fellow hosts are getting. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about a handful of things that you should be doing to ensure that your cars are getting fully utilized regardless of what is happening in the economy. So let's get started. Now, a few months ago, I made a video kind of similar to this, and in that video, I talked about how to protect yourself and your fleet from a recession. And in that video, I addressed things like making sure you're not over leveraged with debt, making sure you're not biting off too much that you can chew, making sure that you're diversifying your fleet. And though I do think that all of those things that I've previously discussed are absolutely applicable here, they're not really what I'm going to be focusing on. And instead, what I want to focus on here is what you can actively be doing with the cars that you already own to ensure that you're still making money from them. And that is a perfect segue into this video and to my very first point, which is to keep an active eye on your pricing. You should be adjusting and actively monitoring your daily trip price on a weekly, monthly, or even sometimes daily basis. And you should be adjusting your pricing based off of demand. For example, if there's a holiday and you've noticed an increase in demand during that holiday, like Memorial Day, for example, you should absolutely increase your price to reflect that. I always make sure to raise my prices on holidays like the 4th of July, Memorial Day, Christmas, Thanksgiving, all of these holidays that will result in an increase in demand. If you don't increase your pricing at least a little bit, then you risk leaving money on the table. But it's not just a matter of holidays, it's also a matter of increasing or decreasing your pricing based off of your day-to-day demand as well. If you notice that your cars are getting booked out days, weeks, months in advance, and they're not sitting at all, that might be an indicator that your pricing is a little bit too low. And if you see almost too much demand, I would encourage you to look at your pricing and incrementally raise it until you see a little bit of drop off with those bookings. This is something that I think is super common with new Turo hosts. They get their car listed on the platform, they're getting a ton of bookings, they are pumped, but then they realize that the reason why they're getting so many bookings is because their car is priced significantly cheaper than every other car on the platform that's a similar make, model, and year. A good way to tell if your car is priced too low is if your car is flying off the shelf, you go onto Turo, you see what other cars similar to yours are being booked for in your area, and if your car is the cheapest one, then you should absolutely look at raising your prices because you are leaving money on the table. On the flip side of the coin is cars that are priced too high. You should be actively looking to see how your car is priced compared to the competition, and your car should not be priced significantly higher than similar makes and models, unless you have something really special to offer. This is another mistake that I oftentimes see with new Turo hosts. They list their car on the platform and they list it 10, 20, 30% higher than every other similar car. And then they ask the question of, well, why am I not getting any bookings? And the answer is a simple answer to come up with. It's because your pricing is just too expensive. If you notice that your cars are sitting for weeks or months at a time, they're simply not getting booked out, then I would encourage you to log on to Turo and see what other cars are priced at. And if you notice that your cars are priced higher, then I would absolutely experiment with lowering that price point. Pricing is absolutely something that you need to be actively managing, and though your pricing will probably stay relatively the same throughout the year, you do want to make sure that you're adjusting them with demand. So if cars are sitting, you might want to lower them a few dollars to incentivize a rental. If cars are getting booked too often, you may want to raise it up a little bit, and of course, you'll also want to reevaluate the prices on holidays. Staying on top of your pricing is the best way to ensure that your cars are being utilized, they're not sitting for days at a time, and that you're making more money without having to add more cars to your fleet. Next is streamline your processes. Time is money, and just because you're self-employed with a side hustle doesn't mean that this rule gets thrown out the window. If you are finding yourself spending hours and hours and hours facilitating a handful of rentals, then you are absolutely leaving money on the table. By streamlining your process, you're able to make more money because you're dedicating less time to this side hustle. And there are a lot of different ways that you can go about doing this. Number one is remote key exchanges. This is something that I've talked about so much on this channel, and I think that it is the most important important thing for a Turo host who's wanting to scale to start doing. A remote key exchange simply means that you are not there to meet the guest in person. Instead, there's a lockbox or some sort of safety deposit box where the guest can pick up the key. This allows for a guest to be able to pick up a car at any time of day, and it allows for you the freedom from having to wait around all day long for a car to come back or for a car to get picked up. But it's not only a matter of key exchanges, it's also a matter of turning around your cars to have them ready and prepared for the next rental. It shouldn't take you more than 10 to 15 minutes to get a car prepared for its next rental. And you can do this by making sure that you have access to a place to clean your cars. Make sure you have the tools on hand. So for example, a vacuum, an air compressor, cleaning tools. You want to make sure that you have oil on hand, or you have a way to quickly change oil if a car needs it. There are a handful of different ways that you can experiment with, and exactly which route you go down will depend on you, the resources you have available to you, and what exactly you're wanting to accomplish. But I really encourage you to sit down and figure out, where are you spending too much time? Where are you spending too much money? Where can you really streamline and make things more efficient? And then once you figure out where you can make improvements, that's whenever you can begin executing, and you can begin spending less time on your Turo side hustle while making more money doing it. Next up on the list is Turo search engine optimization, or Turo SEO. This is a very real thing that can help you increase your bookings, and it's something that I don't think enough people talk about. Whenever a guest searches the Turo platform for a car, there is a very real procedure that the Turo algorithm takes to determine which cars they want to push and which ones they don't. And if you're somebody that's finding yourself not getting a ton of bookings, the algorithm in Turo SEO could be a factor at play here. Now, whenever it comes to Turo SEO, it's all about ranking. So what this means is that if somebody is searching for a specific type of car and your car fits within that criteria of what they're looking for, if you rank within the Turo algorithm, that means that Turo will show your car to that person. Now, whenever it comes to the Turo algorithm, there are a handful of things that it looks for and that it favors. Number one is the car availability. If you are somebody that has your car available 24/7, 365 days a year, your car is much more likely to rank compared to another car that's only available 4 days a week, a couple of weeks out of the month. Additionally is delivery. I'm somebody who does not deliver, and I definitely understand that that affects my search ranking on Turo, but I have confirmed with Turo HQ that offering delivery does in fact help your Turo SEO. Now, whether that's something that's worth it to you, that's definitely a question that you'll have to evaluate yourself. I've determined that for myself, offering delivery is not worth the SEO benefits, but if you're somebody that is struggling with Turo to get more bookings, then maybe offering delivery can help give you that extra SEO bump. Instant Book is another factor. On the Turo app, you have the availability to turn Instant Book on or off. And what this means is that a guest can book your car without your permission. I have Instant Book turned on all of my vehicles, meaning even if somebody has a 1-star review on their profile and they've booked my car, well, too bad, I have to accommodate the rental because I have Instant Booking turned on. On the flip side, if you have Instant Booking turned off, then you have the ability to vet every guest that rents your car, and you have the ability to either decline or accept their rental based off of what you discover about them. And another important aspect is your host profile. So how quickly are you getting back to guests? What are your reviews like? Are you canceling trips often? And also, what is your total trip count on your Turo profile? These are all things that absolutely come into play here. And again, this has been confirmed by Turo HQ. If you have a ton of trips under your profile, you are going to be significantly more likely to rank with the Turo algorithm versus somebody that only has 100 trips or 50 trips. So with Turo, the snowball effect is very, very real. As you begin to get more bookings, it will become easier and easier and easier to get those bookings. So if you're a new host and you are discouraged by how many bookings you're getting, just stick it out, because once you get the ball rolling, it will continue to roll faster and faster. And last but not least is guest experience. Now, whenever people rent a car, in my experience, the two big factors that come into play as to why they chose your car over somebody else's is number one, price. Price is a huge factor. If you have a similar car to someone else, but your price is better, 9 times out of 10, that person's gonna go with you. But the second factor at play is your customer experience and your reviews. And this is something that has to be understood and it has to be emphasized by anybody that's wanting to thrive on Turo. For better or for worse, Turo is a customer service-based business, and if you cannot provide a guest with a good customer experience, you're going to really struggle on Turo. And this is going to become particularly important during a time of a recession, whenever we have less rentals, whenever people are having to choose from more cars, and whenever the economy is struggling as a whole. Your guest experience can absolutely be what sets you apart from the competition. And there's a few ways that you can go about doing this. Number one is be responsive and make sure to be clear and concise with your instructions that you send to guests. You can use a platform like CarSync, which is an automated messaging service that is a lifesaver. I absolutely recommend it. It's free. So if you don't have CarSync, I highly encourage you to check it out. But also just staying on top of messages whenever guests do ask a question. Being responsive and being quick with your responses is something that will go a long way with guests. Number two is flexibility, and this is where remote key exchanges can oftentimes come into play. I get told quite often that my flexibility is one of the reasons why they gave me 5 stars at the end of a reservation. If a guest is late, it's not a big deal. If they're early, it's not a big deal. If they need to extend, if they need to shorten the trip, I am extremely flexible because I understand that things change and things come up. And being very flexible with your guests and being willing to work with them will go an incredibly long way. Next is set your expectations. My cars are not perfect, and I've never pretended like they are. And whenever a guest books my car, from the moment that they look at my listing, they have to understand, and they are told that, hey, these cars are not cosmetically perfect, but they are mechanically extremely sound and professionally maintained. My cars are not targeted towards that person that is looking for a perfect car to drive. They are targeted towards somebody that is wanting reliability and price. And that's exactly who I cater to. And by being clear and concise from the get-go that my cars are not perfect, they do have dents, dings, and scratches, but they are mechanically sound, that has gone a long way. And it's made it so that I have a 4.9 star rating, and 96% of all of my reviews are 5-star reviews. Setting guest expectations from the moment that a guest looks at your listing will go a long way in providing a positive guest experience. And it makes sure that the guest knows exactly what they're renting and that there aren't any surprises. And I personally think that this is the biggest factor at play whenever it comes to my own 5-star reviews. Now, I know that times of economic uncertainty can be scary, it can be overwhelming, especially if you're in a new business that you've never experienced a recession with before. But all of these steps that I've talked about in this video will absolutely have a positive impact on your Turo fleet, and they will help you make more money, and they will help your cars get more utilized. But like always, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, if you have anything to add, I would love to hear it. So make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. And I will see you guys in the next video.